Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you guys' week is starting off pretty well. Last night was Sunday, got some Game of Thrones. I was up pretty late last night trying to make my review, which is up on my channel right now. I had to work, so I had to rush home, catch the second viewing of it, and then, actually record myself and edit the video and stuff. So I was up pretty late, but I really wanted to do it. I've been having a lot of fun this first week. I was motivated. Even though I was up really late last night, I was really motivated to do it. And so this is my preview video for episode 4. This preview was a little bit less, I don't know, I had a lot less in it than the preview for episode 3. I feel like, I got so much more out of that preview instead of this one. They still showed us a lot of things. We saw a lot of characters that we haven't seen in a while, and we've seen some character stories, look like they're actually about to, get really interesting. So yeah, I still got some, cool things to talk about, I think. So let's get to it. So the very first scene in the trailer that we see is Sansa, Brienne, and Podrick. It looks like a gate's being opened for them. I'm assuming we're supposed to think it's Castle Black, maybe. I think it's Castle Black. I'm not 100% sure. It could be another northern house that they stopped at along the way. I don't think they would be doing that at this point. I think their main goal is just to get to where they know there's somebody that they can trust, Jon, obviously. So I don't know if they would be stopping off at any places beforehand because they don't really know who's loyal at this point. So I'm assuming it's Castle Black. And if it's Castle Black, it's going to be, really interesting to see if Jon is actually still there. Last we saw him in the episode 3, he kind of just dropped the mic and said, "Fuck y'all, I'm out." And it looked like he was walking off. I thought he walked out the gate. He might have just went into a building, but I don't know if he'd be hanging out at Castle Black still. I don't know where else he would be going at this point. He might go stay with the wildlings outside of Castle Black. So I'm really hoping that if they really are at Castle Black, I really hope that Jon is still there. We've been waiting a long time to see sort of a Stark reunion, and it would be really nice to see Jon and Sansa finally get to meet up again after being separated for so long. Obviously, I think everybody can agree this is the most exciting storyline at this point. I just want to see everything that has to do with the North right now. I don't care who it is, Sansa, Jon, even Ramsay, at Winterfell, all that stuff. I want more of the Northern storyline because it's just so good right now. It doesn't mean that I don't like all the other characters. Obviously I love Tyrion, Dany's awesome. The stuff in King's Landing is super cool, it's super interesting, but at the same time, it's just the real fight is up north at the Wall, at Castle Black, with the wildlings and the White Walkers, and it's just so, when I see that we're getting scenes, more in the north, I always get super excited. And then also it'd be really interesting to see how Sansa is going to react to hearing about what's been happening with Jon, hearing that he has been killed and now he's back from the dead. Sansa is one of those characters that's very kind of reserved. She hasn't really been exposed to any of this magic at all. Her storyline is very, very lacking in any magical elements that's been going on. So for her to finally meet up with Jon Snow and see, that he's back from the dead, I'm curious to see what her reaction's going to be. And then, so the next scene in the preview we see is Littlefinger. Finally, our boy Littlefinger's back. We haven't seen him in a while. We saw him last season talking to Cersei about how he's going to go back to the Vale, rally the Vale's army, and push north against the Boltons. We assume his motive is to become the Warden of the North. But at the same time, he doesn't give a shit about Cersei, so he's got his own plans. We don't really know what his exact plans are. We get to see Little Robin. I think the other person they show is, I think it's Jon Royce. I believe it is. It cuts to his face. It shows his face. He makes this weird face. I don't know if it's anger or if he's scheming or something, but Littlefinger's talking about how Sansa's in trouble. She escaped Ramsay. And then it shows his face, and I don't know if it's because he hates Peter still, if he still hates Peter Baelish, if he's still trying to come up with a way to get him out of power in the Vale, since, you know, he pretty much is like the Lord Protector of the Vale right now as well. It's hard to tell what his face is actually giving away. Or he could just be, you know, really actually concerned about Sansa's fate, seeing as how closely the Starks are tied into the Arryns. So I really can't wait to see Petyr Baelish get up north and start getting involved with all that. Just how good of a mastermind he is. Him going up to the north, seeing like the actual kind of shit that's been going on up there. He'll be sort of like the first Southern character, essentially. You know, most of his storyline the past seasons have just been focused on King's Landing and all the politics around there. So now for one of those characters to be up north and actually seeing what's happening, not only with Winterfell and the Boltons and all that stuff, but, you know, actually hearing about what's happening at the Wall. I'm really curious to see how much he gets tied into the war with the White Walkers. It would be cool to see Petyr Baelish become to Jon what Tyrion is to like Daenerys. He's not like a comedic relief like Tyrion, but he's super smart. He's got that political knowledge under his belt, so he could really like, you know, advise Jon like Tyrion could advise Dany. So I'm assuming once Petyr Baelish gets up there and sees what the fuck's going on up there, he has to know that he has to get involved in some way. There's nowhere to run at that point. The very next scene is Theon. He finally made it back to Pike, which seemed pretty quick, but he probably just booked his ass back there. Regardless of that, whatever, he's back at Pike, and Yara is talking to him. She's clearly upset with him, clearly pissed off to see him. It's probably the last thing she ever expected to see was her brother coming back to Pike, and she's making it pretty known in the scene, like how upset she is with him. But I really don't think it's going to stay like that for too long. Obviously, like in the past seasons, we saw that she actually did care about her brother. She just kind of had to let him go at that point when she tried to rescue him at Winterfell because he was just too far gone. So now that he's back, I could probably see her not being too pissed off at him after, I don't know, an episode or two. Maybe even in this episode, she kind of gets over it. She could also see it as an opportunity. Him being back, she could use that for like the King's Moot in some way. I doubt Theon at this point in his life would really even consider trying to put his name in for, you know, ruling the Salt Throne or whatever they call it in the show. Being the king of Pike, essentially, like the Iron Islands. I don't see him trying to do that, but I could see him like kind of being Balon's son, essentially the real heir, using that to be like, I place my vote for Yara, like my choice would be for her. In the long run, I don't see any of that paying off, really. I see the King's Moot being pretty lopsided and going to Euron Greyjoy, the character we were introduced to in episode 2. Who killed Balon. I see it going down like that, like he just gets it. I don't see them really even coming that close, which would free them up. Because in the season trailer we saw, Yara was clearly over in Essos for some reason, maybe trying to go find Dany or something. She could be bringing her ships. I don't know how she would know that Daenerys needs help trying to get over to Westeros or whatever, so we're still not really clear on that. But if Theon's back and they kind of become closer again, he tries to help her with the King's Moot, they fail. Maybe that's their next plan. Maybe Theon will go with her over to Essos as well. That's far in the future. That's not probably going to happen in this episode, but just this episode is probably going to be them, like, I don't know, rekindling their siblinghood, I guess. And so next we have Marjorie, still clearly locked in the Sept by the Faith. It looks like they're still trying to do that whole good cop, bad cop thing, like drilling it into her, confess, you know, be a good person, confess, and it really looks like she is starting to be converted almost. Even in like the few scenes we see, it looks like she's not really fighting as hard anymore. We see her holding somebody with blonde hair, I'm assuming it's Loras. They probably, as like the good cop, trying to do her a favor so that she'll break easily or something, or manipulate her. They let her see her brother finally, and they get to hug, and I think it's all just part of her, you know, starting to convert to the actual faith. And then we have Cersei and Olenna. It looks like this episode they might be teaming up. It's a very odd couple. But I think they both realize that the faith is a threat on both of their houses right now. They need to deal with this despite their differences. They need to put that aside, and they need to get Marjorie out of there and Loras, and they need to get the case against Cersei dropped for any of this shit to be resolved. I don't think Loras is going to make it out. I think eventually Marjorie's probably going to get out, but I think Loras might actually get executed or killed in some way. I don't think it would be this episode, but I think very soon we may see Loras either get executed because his trial was he was found guilty or something like that. But you also have to remember that Tyrell army like marches up to the Sept. I think that's to block Marjorie from doing the Walk of Shame that they're talking about in the trailer. Maybe that she's about to, she might confess her sins, which means she'd have to do the walk and stuff, and that might be where the Tyrell army comes to block that from happening. And I also said in my review that I felt like Tommen himself was beginning to look like he was getting manipulated by the High Sparrow almost. He looked like he was ready to start listening to what this guy had to say. It was very weird. So it'd be interesting to see how, like, what side would he start playing almost. Would he still be on Cersei and the Tyrell side, or the Faith side? Would he start seeing it a little bit more their way? And I think that his mindset shifting like that might be the thing that leads to his death ultimately, like maybe ironically by Cersei almost. Like he's going to get killed somehow, Cersei will be responsible, and all three of her kids will be dead, like the prophecy of Maggie the Frog, whatever her name was. But that's also like probably far in the future. I think this episode just purely they're going to start to rally together. The Tyrells and the Lannisters are going to kind of put their shit aside and do what they got to do to get Marjorie out and get Loras out and get the case dropped against Cersei, or get it rolling with the trial by combat. Clegane hype, by the way. Get hype. And so that whole thing is just going to kickstart this whole fucking mess, and it's just going to be, I think it's going to get bloody at some point. This shit's going to kick off because now those two families are working together against the Faith. Tommen might be swayed. It's going to get bad. It's going to get ugly. People are going to die. Probably not Marjorie, probably Loras though. And then that itself will probably just kick shit off even more. So, and then we're showing like a really tiny clip of Meereen. It's with Tyrion and all them meeting with what I assume is maybe representatives of maybe the slavers around there or something, come to talk to her about the current going-ons. But of course she's nowhere to be found. So like I said in my review, Tyrion's kind of taken over that step-in leadership role. So he's just trying to smooth things over. We can't really tell much. It's just a very short boom to the point. From what I gather from it, like tensions are about to boil over there. I don't know if Dany's going to get back in time to smooth things over. I ultimately think that the rebellion is going to get too much there. It's going to become too much a Meereen for them to handle. And that might be what kickstarts Dany being like, fuck it, we can't, they don't want us here. We tried for years, nobody wants us here. It's time to leave. And that might, the rebellion might just take over the city, and she says fuck it at that point and makes her way to Westeros. That's the only way I see her like getting her ass fucking moving towards the right direction. And like I said, maybe the Greyjoys at some point in the season soon will figure out that she needs a ride and head over there and hopefully pick her up and get shit rolling on that. So then we go to Jorah and Daario. They pretty much found Dany at this point, I think. It shows them like figuring out where they could have brought her. So they go there, and then we see a scene. It's very quick, it's very dark, but it's pretty clearly Daario and Jorah fighting for some reason. I don't know why they're fighting. They seem like they were getting along pretty well up until obviously that scene where they're fighting now. So either something big happens or tensions just finally boil over. In my head, one of the possible scenarios is that they do actually find Daenerys. Daario wants to maybe wait for a better opportunity to go rescue her, where Jorah with the grayscale, he's not in any risk of dying right now or like turning mad or going crazy right now. But I think because of the grayscale, he's starting to feel like time is of the essence, and maybe he wants to just rush in there. Plus he loves her fucking insanely, so Jorah just wants to go in there and rescue her right then and there. Daario might want to back off a little bit, that whole thing, that whole fight right there might kick off some tensions, and they just start duking it out for some reason. I don't know how well that's going to turn out. I think ultimately the rescue attempt is probably going to be successful when Drogon actually shows up. We saw him in the season trailer showing up or flying above the Khazar at some point. So I don't know if they're actually going to ever rescue her. It might be when Drogon shows up and burns a shit ton of people or something. But then we are showed Dany very quickly. It looks like some ritual is about to start. The tribunal gathering meeting thing that the other older women were talking about, the older Dothraki women were talking about, where they're going to decide her fate, maybe. She's standing over fire very ominously. The shot itself just looks like she's getting ready to do something with the fire. These dudes are probably, the calls and whatnot are probably going to be sitting there talking about her right in front of her, like she's not even there, like she's an item or something. Like, what are we going to do with her? And then she's probably just going to do something fucking crazy with that fire, like walk in it or fucking throw it around or something. Do something with it to show that, like, she's not just this little feeble woman sitting in front of her, some blonde-haired feeble woman. She's the fucking mother of dragons. Like, you're gonna take me seriously. And maybe at this point, like, Drogon will show up or something. But it seems like the power is gonna shift in this episode with her. She probably, her storyline, like Arya did this last episode 3, her storyline is finally gonna fucking, like, get to where it needs to be, like, and actually start fucking doing something. So, which I've been waiting for. Like, I love Dany, but her storyline sometimes fucking drags on so much, man. Just get to the wall already, Dany. Just go meet Jon Snow already. God damn, dude. And so that's pretty much it. I feel like, I definitely feel like this preview was a lot less than what we got for episode 3. I feel like this one was a little less. But I mean, I still feel like I got some good things out of it. Some of the scenes I saw kind of reinforced what I felt was going to happen throughout the season. And like I was coming up with some things that might happen later on in the season based on the scenes I've seen in this preview, so it kind of reinforces those. So it's still going to be really cool. It doesn't look like it's going to be the major plot lines going on right now. The only thing of the North we're going to see probably is Sansa reaching Castle Black. We might not even get to see her actually meet Jon Snow in this episode or something. It might come in like next episode, but it seems like it's going to be fairly more focused on King's Landing, Pike at the Iron Islands, and Essos with Dany over there and her whole rescue attempt and that whole thing going on. So, alright, thanks a lot, guys, for watching. I hope you check out my channel for more Game of Thrones videos. I did do an episode 3 review, like I said. I'll put it in the link below. I also might put an annotation around here somewhere. If you want to check it out, please leave a comment. Tell me what you think might happen based on the previews, what you saw. Maybe you picked up on something that I didn't. I would like to hear it, discuss it, talk about it. Either way, I hope you guys have a good Monday, the rest of the Monday anyway, and I will see you later in the week. Thanks.